And we should be live. Welcome everyone to the Beerumverate. It is I, the Burkhoff, and this time I'm joined by Evan, the stand user. Keith is away on personal business, but he gave us his blessings to do an episode without him. So we thought we'd
Yeah.
jump on and talk about some first-person shooters. Since this was a discussion that Evan posed on Sifted earlier in the week, and him and I kind of went back and forth on it. I thought it'd be a good topic to discuss on the Beerumverate. So normally Keith does the opener. I'm going to do my best to try and get in all of his disclosures and disclaimers and such. We're three guys who like drinking beer and playing video games. We definitely don't condone alcoholism. Always drink responsibly. Um, yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. First person shooters. What have you been playing recently, Evan?
All right. So for a bit of context, I'm kind of in this weird uh, area of the year where I don't really have a lot to play, or at least I'm not throwing $60 down for a game that I'm interested in that's come out in the last month just yet. So I started looking at my backlog, and I noticed I had like a lot of first-person games, not necessarily shooters, that I've just been sitting on my PlayStation 4. So I threw a poll up on Sifted with a not disclaimer, but a note saying, uh, whatever game wins the poll, um, I will beat it. I promise I will beat it. And I threw that up there because I knew it would motivate me to actually get off my ass and get rid of some of my backlog. So I think I put up like Deus Ex Human, no, Mankind Divide. I always get confused. Which is the second one? Human Revolution?
No,
No, Mankind
yeah,
Divided.
Human Revolution is the first one.
Okay, Mankind Divided, Dishonored 2, Resident Evil 7, Doom, and one other game maybe, but Doom won by a lot. And I bought it like 2 years ago, so I've been playing Doom, and I'm happy I put that poll up. And actually, anyone who wants to dig into their backlog but just doesn't have the motivation, just like throw, I don't know, whatever forum or Reddit discussion you want to have, like throw that up and say, here's a poll of my backlog. Give them like 5 games, don't give them too many, and promise that you'll beat the game, or at least give the game a fair shot. That wins that poll, because there's huge motivation for me to dig into my backlog. But anyways, back to Doom. I think I'm about halfway through it. I've actually literally gone to hell and back, so I don't know exactly where that is in the game. But I've been playing it, and I tend to play all my games on hard.
Okay,
Um,
you're
I
crazy
just
by
like the
the way,
challenge,
but
I
yeah,
guess. It's I don't know. They don't have the names of the modes. Is like I'm playing on Hurt Me Plenty. So I've been dying a lot, and in the beginning I died a lot, and I was thinking it was too hard, and I almost bumped the difficulty down. But then I thought, no, I have to.
I totally would
This
have.
game is going to. Yeah, I just couldn't do it. I almost did, but I was like, no, this game is trying to teach me something. Like I have to learn how to play this game. Well, to any person who's played Doom, this seems like the most obvious thing. It's like I realized like you can't stop moving in this game.
Yeah,
You and every person who's listening to this, or whoever is like, well, duh, that's the first rule of Doom. Never stop, always moving, always shooting.
well, yeah, but
Um,
that mentality's been tainted by a lot of newer first person shooters.
oh, totally. It plays very different. It's just faster, and I don't play any, as you know, I don't play any competitive online anything, multiplayer anything. So I'm not used to any of these games that I don't know. They might be fast paced. You're just like go 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 go.
Right.
Uh, and most of the first person shooters I play are some sort of like RPG hybrid or something like that. So it's not necessarily like a Quake style game where you're just on the move all the time, right? You're never stopping. So once I wrapped my head around that and I got used to it, and I started just like strafing around enemies, and if my health was low, I just completely cut off from the enemies and just started dipping down tunnels to pick up um, shields and find health, and then get back into the groove of or get back in the middle of the fight, and then go around. And so once I started doing that, I started getting really good at the game, or at least started progressing. I broke through that brick wall, and at first I was like, this game's good. It's good. It's fun. And then maybe a couple more hours in, I just remember just this one section that was like really really hard. There's just all these enemies started spawning in. It was like basically waves of enemies in this room, and I'm going for the glory kills, and I'm circle strafing, dodging all these stuff. I'm switching um, my guns out depending on the enemy shots and stuff. I'm like, this game is fucking awesome. So it, and probably after this, I'm gonna play some more. So
Definitely. You know, it's funny. I feel like so I haven't played the Doom reboot, but I have played New Colossus, the second Wolfenstein in the new trilogy, and I feel like it's very similar. Like you constantly have to be moving because the enemy AI is a little smarter, and they will like go around you, and I don't know. I feel like you constantly have to be like switching weapons and picking up weapons and um,
right. I'd say one thing that's different. Like there definitely isn't like stealth sections in the game, and then once you get found, then you pull out the big guns and
yeah,
you
so
you,
that
you
is
start
a little
killing
bit
them. They don't have
differently.
any of
Yeah.
that. But when you get in these giant battles, it definitely is like you have to keep like all the action in your peripheral because you're going to get shot. And both of those games, like I beat the new Colossus on hard as well.
Okay.
Um, by the way, McWomble, that game is not that hard. Um,
did he did he
Frickin'
say that New Colossus was hard?
yeah, he complained on Sifted that it was too hard.
I mean,
I
I thought it
look,
was really difficult. I
it's
haven't beaten it myself. I've just played it.
hey McWomble, I beat it on hard and I didn't think it was that hard. There's two battles in that game. One when the helicopter attacks there's stronghold in the skyscraper and the courtroom. I'll give you those two. But
Okay.
once you figure out that you just have to put your back against the wall and just keep everything in your peripheral and kind of duck and dodge and shoot, then you'll be fine. But stop. It's not that hard. Just get better at the game. Um,
Just get
but
good.
but like just get good. Yeah, I'm like I'm not I'm happy. I seriously don't think that game is as hard as people say it is. I was worried when I jumped into it because everyone was complaining that it was too hard, and I don't know. I didn't think it was, but what you were saying is it's similar in the way like you die pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like a couple like 3-4 solid shots at you, and you'll drop. So you're constantly playing the same areas and learning the level and what areas are safe, and like, okay, don't go for that guy, get around that guy, okay, that's the safe zone, kill the 4 enemies here, then move on to the next part. So you start kind of making this mental checklist in your head about how to defeat the harder areas in the game that are spawning like various kinds of enemies.
Yeah,
So
I felt
there
like
is that.
I felt like learning the map was the most advantageous part because the enemies always seemed to surprise me. They weren't ever in the same exact spots every time.
They do change a little bit. Oh, McWomble, one more thing. If you're having trouble with some of the harder enemies, always dual weld, and just like when you can get a shot in, just like focus in on them and just unload on them. They'll drop pretty quickly if you're dual welding like a couple of machine guns. Um, I would say one thing that's different is in Doom 2016, like if you damage an enemy enough, they'll start flashing, and that's when you can go in for the glory kill by pushing R3. And glory kills are just like ultra violent, like Mortal Kombat fatality style kills where you do some ridiculous, like rip a demon's arm off and beat him in the face with it.
Doesn't it
And
replenish something too?
it drops glory because you can just shoot them after they're staggered. You can shoot them and they'll die. But if
Right.
you go in for the glory kill, they'll drop more ammo,
Okay.
which is like really really important in a game that there's no recharging health, there's no reloading guns, there's no
Right.
recharging
Right.
shields.
I feel like it has really picked up their game, or has like really stepped it up since they got bought by Bethesda. Sort of
Oh man,
gone
like
back to what made id id.
Oh, totally. I don't think when this game came out, I don't think anyone thought it was going to be as good as it is.
No, I remember hearing about it and I was like, okay. But yeah,
Same here. Same
um,
here. Yeah. But that's one thing that's different from Wolfenstein, where Wolfenstein, you always want space between your enemies, and you're definitely uh, you're in cover a
right.
lot of the time, because if you're out of cover, Blazkowicz is not the Doom guy. He doesn't run as fast. It's not that type of game.
No, no, not
So
at all.
you're in weaving between like it's like in Wolfenstein you're trying to dodge bullets which you can't see, but in Doom like you're dodging like giant energy blasts from demons, so they're like way and you're faster, so while you're shooting it's easier for you to dodge the stuff because you can see it. It's like very
Okay.
visible,
All right.
but you're not closing space and balancing that, backing up and moving and shooting versus closing space for the glory kills and then backing up again. You're not balancing that type of getting in close and then backing up type of stuff in Wolfenstein. Wolfenstein's more like of a kind of a cover based first person shooter, but um, when you get into a big area and there's a bunch of different enemies just kind of coming in and you're feeling the heat, and if you make a mistake you're gonna die, like that is definitely like I guess the connective tissue that those games both have, that style of shooting. But yeah, it's Doom's good. I really like it. I love the Wolfenstein games, by the way, and this is coming from someone who never played Wolfenstein or Doom back when those games came out. Of course, I was aware of them.
Oh man, you missed out back in the day.
I did. I totally missed out. Yeah, got a I got our first PC, some compact Presario, when I was like 15, so I could write papers for high school, and it was just so underpowered. I just never had the chance to play. Like I played Doom 2 at my friend's house and stuff, but
Right.
and I watched my brother play Doom on or beat Doom 2 maybe, yeah, on the Super Nintendo, but I never
S-
played the games.
So my first experience with Wolfenstein 3D was actually not on PC.
Okay,
It was on the Atari Jaguar.
you had an Atari Jaguar?
Yes.
Are you fucking kidding me?
No.
Did you want that, or did you like parents surprise you with it? You're like, oh,
No,
that's not what I wanted.
no, so this was so the Atari Jaguar came out in between the Super Nintendo and the Saturn. It was like right before the Saturn came out. And then obviously the Saturn was before the PlayStation came out. So it was like in that weird time frame. And my dad was actually the one that was like, we should get a new system because we've played all the games for the Super Nintendo. And so we went out and we ended up buying an Atari Jaguar.
Jesus. Oh, nice. I don't ever remember seeing one of those things in the store.
There was only I don't know 20 games for it total, I think. So we didn't have it very long before we ended up trading it up for. That was when I got the PlayStation. Was after that, but yeah. So my first experience was with Wolfenstein 3D was on the Atari Jaguar. Um, Interestingly enough, there was an Aliens versus Predator game that was on the Atari Jaguar that was very different from the PC version.
It was different.
And different from the Super Nintendo version too, because the Super Nintendo one was a side scroller.
Oh yeah, I love that game, even though it was like nowhere near the actual like em up arcade game. It was like
No,
kind of shitty actually.
right. So the Atari Jaguar one was totally different, and you could pick from the Marine, the Alien, or the Predator, and it was
Yeah, it was
like
the first person
and
game,
it was a
right?
first-person shooter. Yeah.
That's right. I remember that.
So yeah, shortly after that though, we did get a PC that could actually run um, those id style games.
Sure.
And so then I got Doom 2 and I got Duke Nukem Forever or Duke Nukem 3D. Um, I that blew my mind as a kid too, playing through that.
Oh really?
Yeah, just like when you realize that you can give $1 to a stripper and then you see pixelated titties like that.
Yeah. Take a piss in the urinal.
Yeah,
Sure.
exactly. So,
So go ahead.
well, if you want to go ahead and do the transition, I'll let you handle it.
No, I was just gonna say. So, like, you were on opposite sides of this. So I never touched those games, and then I like got into these old school this id IP that I kind of just fell into, and I absolutely loved it. Now, for you, you've played the old games back in the day. So what
Right.
kept you from jumping into these games like when they came out immediately, like the New
Um.
Order, Doom?
Well, all right. So I was always a bigger Wolfenstein fan, I think, than Doom. So like I've continually played all the
Grounded in
Wolfenstein
realism.
games as they've come out. Right. So Wolfenstein, the series, even though it's gotten notoriety with the New Order and the Old Blood and New Colossus and all that.
Yeah,
Do you remember the 2009 reboot?
yeah, I remember.
So that was.
It had to do more with the occult, and when you kicked, you had this like little baby ass foot.
Yeah, I forgot about the baby foot, but um,
Wasn't it? It had more to do with the occult, right?
yeah, and you had different powers that you could get that were like occult powers that you built up, and it was a
Yeah.
Raven software game, a really good
Okay.
game. I actually really like that. Before that, there was Return to Castle Wolfenstein, which was PC, PS2. I think it was on the original Xbox. That was a solid game.
Mm, that one I don't remember.
Yeah. Not. I'm trying to think how to describe it. In the very beginning, there's a guy getting tortured. You're in a jail cell inside the castle, and your
Mm,
goal is to escape. And then you run through the castle, and it's sort of like a reboot of the original.
okay. So
Um,
it takes place in the castle.
yeah, and then you fight, Mecha Hitler at the end and all that.
Sure, sure.
Um,
No, I never played that. So, well, okay, so before the New Order came out, like which one of those games did you have the fondest memories of playing, or which ones did you like the best? Did you played all those, right?
yeah. Um,
Okay.
well, played a lot of Return to Castle Wolfenstein and the multiplayer versions that they put out. So they
They had
had,
multiplayer for that? That's
yeah,
funny.
it was
This doesn't
it
it was
was
like Nazis versus a bunch of BJs?
yeah,
Or
basically, yeah, it was
are you serious?
it was called Wolfenstein Enemy Territory, I think. I'll
Okay.
have to look it up and make sure that's right. But yeah, it was based on the Quake 3 engine, I believe. So, very similar to that, just sort of with a Wolfenstein twist. And I'm trying to think. It was a game by Splash Damage. I don't. They've put out some stuff recently or since
What did
then.
they what have they what have they made before?
Let's go ahead and pull them up real quick. So, Return to Castle Wolfenstein, Wolfenstein Enemy Territory. They made the multiplayer for Doom 3,
Hmm.
even though that was a horrible Brink. That was Splash Damage.
Ah, Brink.
Dirty
I
Dirty
like the
Bomb.
design of the characters. They kind of had this like these exaggerated like long features, but I don't really know anything about the gameplay from Brink. I know it flopped.
Horribly. I mean, it was a
Yeah.
multiplayer only. Yeah, it was a disaster. Dirty Bomb. It's another
Never heard of it.
multiplayer that's sort of similar to Brink. And then looks like they've done the multiplayer for Gears of War Ultimate Edition and Gears of War 4.
Okay, so that's their wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Small.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I think 2009, the 2009 Wolfenstein gets left in the dust and is often forgot about quite a bit, and it's a shame because it was a really good game. It was a pretty solid first person campaign.
Yeah, I remember hearing about it when it came out, but I don't know. It just kind of seems like it came and went. So you played all these Wolfenstein games, and then you jump into the New Order. Like, how did you feel about that game? Because yeah,
I thought
for
that
me
it.
as a complete experience, I had zero expectations. I just heard it was pretty good, or I heard it was good. It was kind of like a return to, well, old school Wolfenstein, but with like
Yeah, I
in 3D.
think I think for me the pacing is what I think they did the best. So it plays and feels like a classic first person shooter. Um, but where it excels is in modern first person shooter storytelling.
Right, which is kind of how I think like under Bethesda, they're like, oh, this totally works. Let's do that with Doom as well. People
Right.
just translate the old game into 3D as best you can. I mean, that sounds like that no easy task, but maybe that was just like the mindset behind it. Like let's try to keep that as our goal, like a simple goal.
Yeah, so I think I don't know, it takes some cues from Call of Duty and some of the other more popular franchises out there.
Right.
Um, in that it does some more of the cinematics and tells more of a story as it goes along.
Which I like a lot. Like I know I don't know how well those two games sold, but man, there are so many good moments in especially the new Colossus where it's like I can't wait to see how this trilogy ends because I remember one of the guys that worked on the game was you know how Giant Bomb after E3 they do like the late E3 party where they get like devs and people from the industry to sit on the couch
Yes,
and
yeah.
kind of like talk. One of the guys from that worked on the new Colossus was talking about like their goal was to make a trilogy as in terms of the story arc, and like they actually made a character out of BJ Blazkowicz. I like him as a character. Like I think he's a cool guy. He's got a big Southern dumb guy with a heart of gold. I wouldn't say he's dumb, but
No,
he
he's definitely intelligent.
yeah he's not a meathead. I'll take that back. But
I would say
yeah,
that that's the one thing that
they made you
they've
care about him.
yeah, that's the one thing that
He's not
they've
just a
taken
face.
away from the character because he always was sort of like a meathead marine,
Right.
and they've fleshed that out more. Like, no, there's something more to this character.
Right, and he has his, you see the relationship with the nurse that took care of him when he was in a
Yeah,
coma, Blossom, and then they get, they're about to have some kids, and oh, is that game coming out this year? Oh wait, that
the
takes place in the '80s, right, in France
the new
with
one
the
with
two.
the daughters.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's coming out
Um,
this year.
what the hell is it?
If it is, I'm happy all over again.
What's it called? That's what I want to know.
The new,
No. um,
just the new.
let's see here. Trying to make a Youngblood.
Young Blood. There you go.
Yeah, Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Oh, that makes sense because the side story kind of deals. It wasn't DLC from after the New Order was the Old Blood,
Yeah, exactly.
which was also which is also good. That's the first one I played actually. I played the Old Blood first. I liked it so much I went back and made the New Order and then the New Colossus.
Which is fairly short compared to New Order, right? It's only a couple hours.
It's only a couple hours. And Erebus Jones from Sifted. It's funny because we agreed. We didn't plan it out, but that last boss is like one of the bosses that I've played in quite a while. Um, Simply because like what it's like poorly telegraphed what you're supposed to do, and it's just like one of those battles. You're like, why is this in the game at all? Did anyone play test this? Like, anytime you say that out loud, it's not good. Yeah, he hates that last boss, and so do I. It's very unfortunate. Uh, but it's. I guess we should probably move on to some other some single player
Other
notable
series, yeah.
yeah some other series and why they're good. So like Doom is definitely not the story, but I've been trying something. I've been trying something, Matt. When you pick up data logs in Doom,
Okay. Do you
which
actually?
I don't like because you go into a menu and read something. It's like if it's so important, then put it in the fucking game and don't make me read.
Right.
Um, like, but I've been going in and reading the data logs about the characters
Okay.
from start to finish,
And are
like a
are
grown
you
man,
learning
like a big
something
like.
about this base on Mars and the reason that they've opened a gateway to hell? And
Oh yeah, 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 totally. I mean, they're using it because the demon energy is they can use it as it's a natural resource that comes to depend on. So because Earth depends on this basically I don't know if it's a demon energy fossil fuel or whatever you want to call it, but
okay.
that's why they start getting the UAC. No, they don't start getting greedy, but it's part of necessity slash crazy or guy hellbent on discovering the secrets of the universe, no matter the cost. Type of kind of leader, the CEO of this company type of thing. And then obviously they open Pandora's box, and then all hell breaks loose, quite literally. But no, it is good. It's giving me like I can totally see, and why this is a revelation. It's just like, well, yeah, it's just like basic storytelling type stuff, Evan. But
Right.
deepening the lore actually makes more about the lore actually makes the game better.
See, I've been trying to tell you this for the last like 3 years, dude.
Having said that, Doom is not really about that,
No.
and I could,
It's very interesting for you to get into that aspect of
and then
games now. Yeah.
immediately backtrack. In a game where the main character is called the Doom guy, like
Right.
it's not really that important. But like, if I wouldn't have gone on those data logs, it talks about um, how the demons sealed the Doom guy away, and then how the company found the tomb that the Doom guy was in.
Okay.
That's not in the game, which is disappointing. Like, I wish that was in. Uh,
You,
like,
you want it to be told in
there
some
was some
type of
exposition that happened, but like,
you want it to be told in some type of cinematic or
no, let the data logs play while I'm playing.
okay.
Like, let me listen to that shit while I'm playing, like Bioshock style. Like Bioshock did that a long time ago. Why can't I listen to this shit while I'm playing the game? Like, nothing else is going on. All I'm doing is killing demons, type of stuff. But it has deep. Like, I know more about what's going on behind the curtains, and that has helped me like make the world. It has made the world more fully realized, which I
Okay.
do appreciate. Slightly annoyed that I have to read so much, even in a Doom game where it's only like maybe 2 paragraphs per data log, but
Right.
um, it has helped. But anyways, yeah, Bethesda is absolutely killing it with the Wolfenstein series and Doom. The cool thing is, much like I never paid attention to Bloodborne, and then my friend forced me to play it. He basically did force me to play because he wouldn't fucking shut up about the game. But I finally played it, and now I'm excited for Sekiro. In
Okay.
the same way, since I've played Doom now, I'm super excited for Doom Eternal. So it's always nice when you
Mm,
kind of
yeah.
you play a game you like, and now you're excited for the next game in the series, and it's like coming out soon. I didn't have to wait like 3 years.
Well, I was gonna say not to get off on a huge tangent, but I think Sekiro is gonna be very different from Bloodborne, even.
Mm, yeah, I think it'll be closer to Bloodborne than Dark Souls, though. But from
Um,
what they're saying the game's about, like, I'm liking what they're saying about it.
I think it's gonna be closer to like Neo.
Oh, you do have to block a lot. I know that.
it's gonna be more
Lots of parrying.
arcadey. Because they were saying
I'm fine.
it
Okay.
doesn't you don't level up and stuff, right? Like the bosses have their own tells and they know
Right.
exactly what weapons you're gonna have for each boss and stuff like that.
I'm totally fine with that. Like, I've only ever played Bloodborne, so I don't really
I think
have much to compare
I've
Sekiro to.
tried to play the Dark Souls games and Bloodborne. I think I would like the the Sekiro or Sekiro. I don't know. I can't really pronounce it.
It's fine.
I think I would like that better. It being more of an arcade style game where like you have all the tools available. You don't have
Hmm.
to go out and search for the shit or like try to
Like
figure it out.
you're not dying from a boss and like, am I missing something or am I like not good
Yeah,
enough
there's
yet?
like an
Yeah,
entire part of the map that I just didn't explore, and that's why I'm shit at this guy right now. Should I not be here?
right.
Um, but
Yeah, I
anyway,
don't think it's gonna be like that, which is nice. Which is nice. I'm looking forward to it. But um, I think this whole because I started playing Doom and I asked the Sifted community to help me with this FPS poll. We got into a conversation about some memorable single player campaigns for first person shooters,
yeah,
and me not being a multiplayer guy, I went back in my backlog, but my history for FPS, and I'm like looking at this like why don't I like I just don't like multiplayer I guess, but I've played a ton. It's not like I don't like first person shooters at all. It's just not the multiplayer stuff. But there's the interesting thing about this is there's a ton of and there a lot of them are really really good. Um,
yeah,
so we talked about the New Order and the New Colossus and Doom 2016. What Matt are I don't know if you want to go into like honorable mentions or
yeah.
a bit of
Well, I was gonna say I think the Modern Warfare games are pretty notable. I know a lot of people like to hate on Call of Duty, and you know they're the layman's games or the noobs games or whatever. But like my dad absolutely fell in love with the story of Captain Price. Like his icon on PSN right now is Captain Price. Like he's
who is who is that?
the main character in the Modern Warfare games.
It's the same person every time.
Yeah, well, he's I don't know if he's I don't know if you play as him in all three of them, but his character is in all three games if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Okay. Oh, so
So
okay, so your dad is quite the gamer. I guess.
well, in terms of like first person shooters, yeah, he's always
Okay.
loved those. Um, and I think a lot of people will agree. You know, now that time has had a chance to let those games marinate in our subconscious, that the Modern Warfare games are actually pretty solid in terms of story and what they did for the genre. So I think that's an honorable mention. Um,
Funnily enough, one of the PlayStation Plus games for March is Call of Duty 4.
Modern Warfare Remastered,
Sure. You know what I know what I'm talking about. COD baby.
right?
COD. Yeah.
Um,
I shouldn't say it with that. But I'll go. I've heard that single player campaign is actually really good. So I'm actually going to play it. I promise I will beat that campaign. I've never touched that game. I promise I'll beat that campaign.
okay, all right.
It'll be the first Call of Duty game that I've ever touched. So
You've never played any of them,
no,
dude.
I don't like modern military stuff.
Okay.
It. I'm not interested in modern military or anything.
You
There's something that just turns me off about it.
you might
The
you
only game I liked is Spec Ops: The Line, and that's because the story was really really good.
we should yeah we could include that if it wasn't a third person shooter I would be talking
Hmm.
about that one too.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
First,
in terms of Call of Duty, you might like the original Black Ops because that was if I'm not mistaken that took place in the '60s during Vietnam or shortly thereafter.
what console is that on?
PS3, Xbox 360.
Can I get it on the PlayStation 4?
I don't think so. No.
Okay, I'm not. There's no way that I'm not hooking my PlayStation 3 to 3 back up.
All right.
There's so many games on there that I haven't beaten, but I can't hook it back up.
Okay.
Maybe it'll come. Maybe they'll. I don't know.
Call of Duty Ghosts got a lot of shit, but mainly because the multiplayer was such crap.
Oh, okay.
But the single player campaign's actually pretty good, even though
Is it?
even
Is
though
it a
it's
futuristic one?
a little bit. So it's
Okay.
it's not really like far future. it's not like Black Ops 3, which was a travesty. I couldn't even get 2 hours into that fucking thing.
Oh,
Um,
is it that bad?
it's that bad. Yeah, Black Ops 3
Wow.
is horrible. But Ghosts is actually pretty decent. That's a decent single player campaign, and it's maybe 4 or 5 hours you can get through it in a Saturday. Um,
All right. Well, let me keep going. I'm listening. I'm going to check the PlayStation Store right now because I'll make a note of it if it's cheap enough. I'll play through like a 5 hour campaign of something.
right. And then so the one that I just picked up was Infinite Warfare, I think. The one with Kit Harington as the main boss.
That's he
Um,
has a scar, so you know
yeah. He's got a scar over his
he's got a
eyes, so you know
scar.
he's a badass.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Well,
but
have you played it?
yeah, well, I haven't gotten all the way to the end, so I started it last weekend. I'm gonna finish it this weekend. But I've only got like a couple more hours left to go. One of the most
You're
solid single player Call of Duty campaigns I've played in the longest time. And
okay.
what really got me into it was all of the ship combat. Like the ship combat is fucking amazing. Um, and it's almost like it is very much like Gundam, where you have these missions that you go
Oh, you
on.
control ships?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I thought you were talking about like just fighting in ship.
Well, what do you mean?
Like just you remember like when they revealed it at E3? Like there there's a bunch of there's a bunch of ships in space. I sound like I'm 5 years old explaining something to my dad.
There are a bunch of ships in space.
There
Yes.
are a bunch of ships in space, and then like basically there's so- a hull breach, and like you go through the hole and get onto a new ship and kill a bunch of people, and then blast a hole in the side and get off the ship. I thought that's what you meant, like like combat. There's
Ship.
like shooting areas where you're like jumping in and out of ships, but it's still
Well,
all first person shooter.
there's that, but you actually get to pilot these they're special fighter jets.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's why I was saying. Okay, so I mentioned this in the thread. I thought that if the guys that worked on the ship combat in Infinite Warfare from Infinity Ward, if they were able to get the Colony Wars license, they would totally do it
All right, that's
justice.
it. You said it. You said it once. All right, that's one count for Colony Wars.
Colony Wars
Okay.
mention check.
Do you,
Um,
side note: do you think you'll ever get another Colony Wars game?
in the future, like, will they ever make another one?
Right. Yeah.
I hope so, dude. I think it's a great series. Like,
Okay.
it would be awesome if somebody actually picked it up. And Sony owns the rights, as far as I'm aware, because it was Psygnosis who developed the original games. They became Sony Studio Liverpool. So, I mean, Sony's got to own the rights somewhere.
Hmm.
They've got to hold that IP so that they could get a team together and have somebody fucking develop a new one.
That's possible then.
Yeah.
But anyways, you're talking about Infinite Warfare. That kind of reminded you of Colony Wars a bit?
Yeah, the when piloting the ships, when you're in the fighter pilot mode, and they did a really good job. It's not like too difficult to pilot, and it's not too dissimilar from the first person mechanics.
Okay.
It's a smooth transition. So
Okay, so that's interesting. You get a first person shooter that mixes it up a bit with a bit of ship combat.
yeah, and it's about half and half. Like
Hmm.
it's like 50-50. If you play and you have side missions, you can choose to do side missions if you want. So you have like a galaxy map and there's like different missions that you can pick and choose. Or you can just do the main missions and just, run through the entire story, which is primarily why I still have a couple more hours left in the game because I went through and I
Hmm.
did all the extra side missions.
Okay. It's interesting. It's got like a It's got like a hub, like Wolfenstein: The New Colossus or something.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I didn't like this. That submarine was a bit labyrinthine for me, but I did like the idea where we could, you know, tackle side missions to get like better equipment and stuff.
It definitely got more confusing as more shit opened up.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, where the fuck am I again?
Yeah, dude, I never got my head around that fucking submarine.
No, yeah, that wasn't the best laid out, that's for sure.
Okay, so we're talking about like a lot of people know about Doom, a lot of people design. Okay, we all know about Call of Duty. Are there any other notable first-person shooters or single-player campaigns that maybe are a bit not fringe, but there's not a lot of them, but anything that comes to mind, or at least that hasn't been mentioned in a while?
Yeah, did you ever play Singularity?
Right. So I never. I remember seeing. What was 360
Yeah, it was PS3 360.
when that game came out? I didn't even know there was like a game before it. Like I was not familiar with the IP at all.
Okay.
So you played it.
It was decent. I didn't get all the way through it. I think it's
You have
notable.
like a lot of futuristic powers, and I think.
Yeah, well, what's interesting
Kind
is
of.
I think it's the game that Raven Software did after 2009's Wolfenstein. So
Oh,
it's
okay.
so it's actually very, it's almost like a futuristic version of Wolfenstein 2009. So instead of occult powers, you've got these like abilities to like stop time and
Mm,
stuff like that.
that's right. I remember that. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think that's
So
it's worth
pretty
a
solid.
yeah, it's worth a mention. I'd go back and play it if I ever saw it on like Steam or something for
Okay.
$5. Um, what about you? Do you have any games like that that you'd like to mention?
Um, One game that I went through an old list of games I played and I like completely forgot I played it, but I loved it. Call of Juarez Gunslinger.
Oh Jesus.
Have you played that?
No, I've heard good things about it though.
Yeah, so it's kind of got this like artsy kind of cell shaded style, but um, the way the story is told is really interesting. Where it starts, where this guy goes into a saloon, and it's kind of played like moving comic panels, kind of,
Right.
and it's like very very like messy kind of art style, kind of sketchy comic book style. This guy comes into the saloon and he starts telling the story about this gunslinger, and then you start playing the game and the basically you are playing out what the guy is telling all these people in the saloon, and he's telling the story for in exchange for drinks.
Okay.
And one of the and I don't know if I've seen this in another game. What'll happen in the game is like you'll be holed up in the second floor of like a barn with all these guys, all these bandits just shooting you, and all of a sudden like the guy will stop. He's like, no wait, that's not how it happened. There was a ladder that the guy climbed to the roof and then he escaped, and then all of a sudden you'll like turn around and there'll be a ladder in the roof.
Oh, that's interesting.
So dude, it's super cool. So that has a bunch. He's like, wait, that's not what happened, and then like said like the entire fight, and then something else will happen and you'll be put in a different place, and it's kind of like the unreliable narrator thing, but you're seeing it happen right in front of you, like him take back what he said and change it, and then those things will appear in the game.
Okay.
um he's not like continually talking like Bastion. It's only like certain areas where he'll be talking, but it was a super fun game, and I love those kind of old like like the gun, pretty much the predecessor to like a game like Red Dead Redemption, like
That
just
that
Wild
was
West.
yeah, that was a Rockstar game, wasn't it? Gun.
I don't know if it was. I
Um,
love that game, by the way. That game was awesome.
well,
But yeah,
Red.
that was a really, really fun game. I quite enjoyed Gunslinger. Um, you know, it's a series that like you might not even once I tell you might say like why the like I never would expected you to like the games, but the Crisis games I really like.
Okay, so I liked 3. I had never played any of the other ones before because just like the meme and the joke implies, I didn't have a PC that could run Crisis.
Hmm.
So,
I never played Crisis. I played 2 and 3.
yeah, I played part of the way through 3. I rented it. I got like Redbox, so I didn't ever buy it, but I was intrigued by the game. And I thought it was interesting, like the camouflage and some of
Yep.
the different you know abilities that you could get, and some of the
Yeah, it
weapons were
changed up.
unique too.
Yeah, it's like it changed. Like a lot of the games we're talking about are they're all first person shooters, but they're flipping. They're changing up just enough to make what it's really unique. It's just the Crisis games are linear. Yeah, that's right. I'm sorry, but it'll open up into a larger area, and it gives the kind of the semblance of a larger area than it, and then you're able to tackle that area to progress forward in a lot of different ways using stealth or um, using brute force or a bit of both.
Right.
Um, I would say with three is way more of a stealth game because they introduced the bow, which is completely silent,
I love
and you didn't,
bows in games.
dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was like 2013 when like Tomb Raider came out, and Crisis 3, and I can only think of 2 games, but I'm pretty sure there were more. But it was like the year of the bow. I don't think it could be the year of the bow unless there's more than 2 games, but I can't think of a third. But people complain that Crisis 2 is a bit too dark because you were just in like bombed out New York City after it was attacked by the cephaloids or whatever they
Yeah,
were.
I do remember 3 had the lush like jungle environments and things, right?
I think that's why they totally did it. Yeah, they like Stephen King domed the city up,
Yeah, yeah.
and yeah, which I liked. Like I liked those games because I like stealth in first person. Like Dishonored is probably like a top 20 game for me. Um,
I love
da-
Dishonored. That's a definite good honorable mention for first person shooter. Even though
does that
it's
count? I don't think it counts. There's no gun.
I mean, I don't
There
know.
is a gun.
Well, you could claim that it's an immersive sim, you know, which is sort of what what's his face, D'Antonio or whatever, the developer behind the game. Like that's what he would consider the game as like an immersive sim because it's very similar to Thief and Deus Ex and um,
Right.
those.
Okay. Sure. Okay. If you want to. Okay, that's a decent argument for it. If you want to put that in there, then I think it's one of the best. I absolutely love Dishonored. Well, I have Dishonored 2 on my PlayStation 4 right now. It's been there for like 2 years. I feel bad.
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I haven't played 2. I don't know why I haven't felt. I don't know. I didn't feel the same attraction to 2, even though it's doing all kinds of new things and
Right.
yeah.
Like I went deep. If you're talking about lore in the game, I went deep into Dishonored. Like I read all that. Thought the world was super interesting.
Dude, I still have the tarot deck. Like that was one of the last games I ever pre-ordered
Oh, really?
before I got disillusioned by that whole bullshit process.
Oh, see, like to me, that pre-ordering that shit sounds like a total waste. But then you say you still have that deck, and now I kind of like envy you.
Yeah, well,
Just because that game's so cool.
it's interesting because they made a tarot deck, and so
That's awesome.
there's parts in the game where like the guards are playing a card game with these cards. So they actually made a real deck, and they made their own version of this. I'm trying to think of the name of the game, but they made their own version of this card game even that you can
I know
play
what
with.
you're talking about, but it's been so long since I played it.
Yeah.
I gotta turn the screen off. Today's top searches: Division 2, Fortnite, and Apex Legends. It's like a nightmare. Let me get out of here. Sorry, but anyways, so you still have the You still have that deck. I see. We've never talked about Dishonored. I didn't know you liked it that much. Like, I love that
Oh,
game.
dude, yeah. I spent the so the week that it came out, I pre-ordered it. I got it. I want to say it came out on a Tuesday or Thursday, right?
Probably. I mean, I would guess a Tuesday.
Okay, so it came out on a Tuesday. I probably picked it up the next day because I would have had work. Started
Right.
playing it on Wednesday. Was like, oh, this is super interesting. Would have played it the next 2 days after work. Like Friday night when I got home, my buddy called me up and was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, dude, I got this new game. Like, you should come over and we'll play a little bit of it." It was literally like the next day, Saturday at like 4 o'clock, and I was like, "Holy shit, dude! We've been up all night and all day, like playing this game." Like we got through the castle at the end, and it was interesting because the first run through of the game I did, I just fucking murdered everybody. I didn't give a shit. I was like, I am the coolest stealth magical ninja on
And
the
then the final
planet.
mission, it's like,
Yeah, and just murdering everybody. And you get to the castle and it's all fucking rainy, and it's a pain in the ass to get through all of the guards. And so we like immediately restarted the game and played it. And like, all right, this time we're gonna do it nothing but a stealth playthrough, and then built up um, Corvo so that he had abilities that were geared towards just the stealth aspects.
mm,
And then got to the castle, obviously much faster, and it's like light out and totally different atmosphere. There's
yep,
like
yep.
less guards, and I was like, "Holy shit! This game totally changes it depending on how you play." And yeah, love that game.
Yeah, it's great. I definitely like I know the reason I haven't played Dishonored 2 yet, and this is the same thing with the Deus Ex game. I almost was it Human Revolution? I almost ghosted that entire game, and all I would do is save scum.
Okay,
Um, I know for a fact the two DLCs for Dishonored, I ghosted both of those. I have the trophies for not being seen or not killing anyone,
right.
and that's how I love playing those games. But it takes so much more effort to do that. I would argue the Dishonored game is like Dishonored is actually really fucking easy. Like the combat and stuff, like you can murder everyone really quickly,
Yeah,
but it's not as fun. It is fun, but it isn't. Like I beat I did both playthroughs for the first Dishonored game, and I just think there's way more reward in stealthing that game. But I have a problem with being seen and wanting to do it again than just like instead of what I should be doing is okay, I'll stealth it as much as I can. Once I get caught, I'll just kill them. That's probably the funnest way to play that game, and I can't do that. So I think I have stayed away from Dishonored 2. It's like, I know I want to ghost this game, but it takes so much effort to do that, so I've stayed away. Same thing with
if you do it
Mankind Divided.
if you do it right, you can get the sleep darts. And like,
Mm,
if one of the guards is just like, "Oh," and he starts to get alerted, as long as you shoot him with the sleep dart in the head, he won't alert the other guards, and then you're fine. And it's
right.
still a stealth playthrough, and it's still a no kill playthrough.
One thing I hate, or not hate, but one knock against this game is it's not apparently clear if they've seen you or not. Like I've thought I've stealthed an entire level, and then it goes into like all like the information of what happened in the level, like how many people killed, blah blah, how many items,
Right.
and then it'll be like 0 0 0 0 seen once, and I'm like, how did that happen? It should tell you like right away if you've been seen or not, at least in the menu, so that if you had been seen, then you could reload a prior save.
What
That's one thing that
what
annoyed me about the first game.
what was the show that was on Sifted for a while? Platinum Journey.
Yes,
Didn't he do Dishonored as one of the
he
games?
might have. I know Mr. Tom Raiders, Tomb Raiders. He got the platinum game.
Tom Raiders.
I,
I
I've
love that.
I've seriously thought about getting the platinum in Dishonored, but I really need to work on my backlog. But Yeah, that game's great.
I feel like he did play Dishonored and on Platinum Journey, and it was like super difficult. Like he had to play
Oh,
through
he
it like
totally did. Yep, he did. There was a Platinum Journey episode of that.
he had to
I do
play
remember that.
through it like 2 or 3 times, I think, to get everything.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah,
so
it's a pain in the ass. If you don't start that game looking to get the trophies, and you're gonna have to replay it like way more than you should. But if you go into it like, okay, follow like platinum trophy path.com, then you
yeah,
only need like 2.5 playthroughs or something. But if you don't know that going in, you're gonna keep doing the shit over, which is annoying.
right. Um,
Okay,
Getting back to, I guess,
yeah,
the
go.
original question, do we consider those games first person shooters? I think if you can consider Deus Ex, even the new incarnations, if you can consider those first person shooters, then I think that Dishonored is technically a first person
But
shooter.
you have like a giant arsenal of guns in those games. You don't have to use them, but you still have like.
Well,
I mean,
you've got the revolver, and you've got the sleep darts, and you've got
thing that makes them for. Yeah, you got that. Yeah, those guns that are basically ineffective,
yeah.
blow people's life, which is pretty good. Um, it's possible. I don't know if we should get into that conversation now. All right. Okay. How about this? I have this giant list of games. I'm just gonna read it off and then tell.
You actually cut out there on the last part.
Sorry. I have this giant list of person shooters that I've played.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna read it off and tell me, and then we'll just cut out the stuff we don't need to talk about. Otherwise, it'll go on forever.
Sure. All right.
All right. I got Bioshock Infinite, Metro Last Light, Half-Life 2, Far Cry 3 and 4, Bulletstorm, Borderlands 2, Fallout New Vegas, Prey.
You okay? I thought you were just gonna keep going, or do you want me to like say something after each game?
No, just you can pick a game out of there if you've played it, and we can talk about it in terms of it being whether or not it's a good single player campaign.
Bioshock Infinite, I think, is pretty solid.
Okay.
A lot of people complain about the ending. I think I don't know. I like Ken Levine's writing, so I get why he did what he did, and I thought it was a smart choice.
If they ever do Bioshock again, I think they should reboot the series because the idea of like infinite timelines kind of makes what you do not worth anything because there's always a separate timeline. That's the issue that I have with that stuff. But okay, by the way, we're gonna spoil Bioshock Infinite's ending because that game's been out since like 2013.
Right.
But I get the idea that like Elizabeth had the power to be in every single timeline that will ever exist forever at the same time. So she closed the loop on Booker and Comstock's story. Like she had the power to like have one ending. So in terms of how that story ended, I like that. But then when you open the idea up for like BioShock, like the first one is like, oh, there's just like infinite outcomes, and it's like then nothing really matters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well,
but I'm fine with how BioShock Infinite ended because she closed the loop on the story. There was no more endings for him. She erased all the possible endings for that single story, and I'm fine with that because they introduced her powers earlier in the game and what she was able to do, and then when they introduce what happens, it's like, oh, okay, then now I understand like her powers and what she's capable of doing. So I accept like what she did at the end, and I understand what she did, type of thing.
Do you like Rick and Morty?
Yes, I do, and I'm one of those people where like it was out for like 2 years, and I'm like, what the fuck? Because I was in Japan, like no one, like okay, everyone. I've lived in Japan for like 8 years, and so a lot of what is like, of course, I'm on, I'm on the internet and stuff, so I absorb a lot of that stuff. A lot of the stuff I don't.
Right.
So I got to Rick and Morty super late, and all these people are talking about, and I was like, oh, like it can't be as good as everyone's saying. Like,
Yeah.
and it's kind of to an annoying point. And then I watched it, and the first episode, and I fucking laughed my ass off. Like I
So
immediately understood why it was so good. Yeah.
I haven't gotten into it until like just recently. But
Oh,
I
okay. So
I feel like BioShock, specifically Infinite, is like Rick and Morty.
okay, hold on. I need to get another beer. Think about what you're about to say because I don't know how you're gonna connect these two things. Rick and
I think I might blow Evan's mind here.
I have Bluetooth headphones on.
I know you have the Bluetooth headphones on, but
Okay.
the people at home can't hear you.
Oh, that's true.
So I'm using
Uh,
by myself.
Side note: have you ever seen Harold and Crystal?
The original?
Yeah.
A long, long time ago.
Okay, so there's a part where their car breaks down and they get picked up by Freak Show, the truck driver,
Okay.
and they're in the truck with him. He's towing their car, and he's obviously like ridiculously comically ugly. It's just like this actor with a bunch of makeup on.
Okay. I kind of remember that.
Oh shit! So he's driving. Just it's a truck, so like they're all right next to each other in the truck, three in a row, and the whole idea is that like in sitcoms and stuff when like two people are talking to each other and there's one person just like off camera, the idea is the third person can't hear what they're saying, but if it was an actual situation they would totally be able to hear what they're saying.
Right.
um so the joke in the car is they keep talking about he's got this boil on his neck that pops,
Yeah.
and he's like, oh my god, it's so gross. Oh, and it's like, oh, it's dripping on his neck, and then finally I think Harold says, just because you're whispering doesn't mean he can't hear. And it's like this really long drawn out conversation where they're just like making fun of how ugly he is, and then there's like a long pause, and then Freak Show says, heard everything you said. So I often use that in Japan because I often speak in English and I just assume the people around me, you get into assume the people around you can't hear what you're saying,
Right.
and then I'll be telling the story, talking with my friends, telling kind of, I don't know, having some sort of rude conversation or something. And then we'll joke like there'll be a long pause and the Japanese person next to us will just say like, heard everything you said. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm so sorry. So when I went to get
That was a long ass tangent.
so when I went to get my beer, I was just thinking, because you were speaking and I thought maybe you didn't know if I could hear you. Then I was just thinking, heard everything you said. All right, so Rick and Morty and BioShock Infinite.
Yeah, no.
How are they similar?
The connecting tissue is the fact that there are infinite universes, infinite dimensions.
Oh, totally.
Right? Like it doesn't really matter that that it's the C whatever Rick and Morty, the C-158.
And that's okay.
Right. Like it doesn't matter. Like the story that's told is about this crazy guy that builds a city in the sky.
Okay.
Like that's
You're right.
And because there are infinite multiple dimensions and there is a method by which these universes and dimensions can be traversed, it sort of makes sense that Booker is Comstock. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I thinking about it that way, sure. But like I just think like I'm fine with the story they told. Although the opposition party, the way that it kind of just like flipped and they were the bad guys, like I wish they could have told a more interesting story for that group of people in the end.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know.
They just like all of a sudden like all the people wearing red became the bad guys, and it's like, there's more here. And that's criticism plus and also credit, because I was interested in the Vox
Populi.
Yeah. I was interested in what they had to say, like what their story was, living as the oppressed people in this world that Comstock built, and they just did not have the time or whatever to get around to that story.
I, yeah, I don't know. I don't
You know
know
what
that
I
it
mean?
was really. It was more flavor for the universe and the lore. I think
Sure.
I think
I
you
just
could
thought it was interesting enough that I wanted to learn more about it,
I
I
think
guess.
I think you could tell others. Well, yeah, if you like in another universe where shit, what's the name of the city?
Floating
Columbia,
Island. There you go.
Columbia, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
in another universe where Columbia still exists and it's like um, a perpetual setting. Um, you could probably tell other stories about the Vox Populi and stuff that is going on between them in that setting, I guess. But
Right.
I don't think it's the most interesting story you can tell. Um, and I think that's why they didn't really go into it. It was more just to flavor the world,
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
you know.
I get that. Um, Still a great game though. Like, I know that there was like, I remember when IGN got remember when they actually got the first review out? Like everyone else had to wait. Remember when that happened? That was
Um,
fucking weird.
I mean I don't really remember that, to be honest with you. But I mean back in those days I was basically following pretty much just game trailers. They were really the only
Okay.
site that
Yeah.
I really gave a shit about.
IGN. I don't remember the story behind it, but they got the heads up on they were the first review out. I'm
Interesting.
glad that shit doesn't happen anymore. But they gave it it's 2013 early in the year, like maybe March, or maybe about March, and they gave it a 10 out of 10. I remember that. And then like later, there
Right.
was a huge backlash against that game. Like after it got all this love, um, I ended up playing it later because I bought it on sale. But I never thought it was a 10 out of 10 game. But I don't. I think the backlash was not against the quality of the game, but just like the 10 out of 10 stuff, similar to Breath of the Wild. It's just unfortunate,
Well, I
but
mean, it's
I still like the game. Like
it's
I thought
just
it was a
it's
great.
just as good as Chrono Cross, and we know that's a 10 out of 10.
Oh, yep, exactly. Yeah, GameSpot 10 out of 10. I still like Chrono Cross a lot, but it's not
I
10 out
do
of 10.
too.
Yeah, it's a good game, but it's not 10 out of 10.
uh,
Jeff Gersman told an interesting story about that.
I love his
Uh,
story regarding that. How nobody had
yeah,
time to play that game, so they just farmed it out,
and then
and nobody had time to like go through and be like, well, we don't really have a rebuttal for why this isn't a 10 out of 10, so fuck it, we'll
yeah,
just
they couldn't poke holes in a game that they didn't play. No
right.
one fucking played. And then they had a second opinion, and the other dude vouched for the guy and was like, yeah, that's totally right. So it was like the only two people that thought it was a 10 out of 10 that
Right.
he asked. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great fucking story. Um, yeah, so Bioshock Infinite, great. Well, Metro Exodus just came out. I've only ever played Metro Last Light. I haven't played Metro 2033, but I really, really liked Metro Last Light, and I just not necessarily roguelike, but it's got those the limited resource elements where you're constantly like survival elements, which I
That
usually hate. I
yeah,
hate the anxiety that type of gameplay causes, but I really like that game a lot.
that shit kind of bugs me having to refill the mask every time.
Yeah, and the weird thing is,
I
any other game I would have been trashing it for those aspects,
the
but
one
for some
thing
reason,
the one thing I will
yeah.
say is it seems like there's enough of them around
Oh, totally.
that
Yep.
you're never in a situation where you're like don't have two or three that you can find somewhere.
There's one level where you're in a swamp that is like you're constantly having to like it's almost like you're on a timer to get from one section to the next
Oh, there's
because you're
definitely
going
yeah,
to
there's
die.
definitely parts where like
I did not like that section at all.
yeah, I remember playing it with my dad and having to load saves because we're like, all right, we have to time this just right with all of the
Right.
fucking air canisters that we've got.
Dude, I did the exact same thing. I
Yeah, I
was
mean,
timing that
there's
shit down to a T. You have
yeah.
to.
So I mean, it's possible. Like the thing that I don't like about that is I don't know. In that context where you have to figure out like the perfect path, it's kind of like a puzzle.
Mm.
But it's annoying that you're always having to fill up these fucking meters? Like, why is that a thing that I have to think about? You know?
Yeah. One thing I don't like about this, and this is like I love Breath of the Wild, but like stamina meters in games, and I know
Yeah.
it's a system they have to put in place because they built the world around their systems, and they can't have Link jump 8 meters in the air because he could just like jump over obstacles that he shouldn't be able to get over at specific times in the game, that type
Right.
of thing. But it's like when he's running and his stamina meter literally drains in probably like 5 solid seconds and he's like huffing and puffing. I was like, what are you talking about? Like I can run 10K without stopping. Why is Link basically on his deathbed after 5 seconds of sprinting?
I don't know.
It doesn't
Like,
really make any sense why like the meters run so low, but of course it's just systems they have to put in place because they design the world around over, you know what I'm trying to say, but
right.
it's still annoying.
Yeah. Same thing with weapon durability.
Mm. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like even an RA2 remake, like the knives just like break. Like there's no fucking way that knife's breaking. Not in decomposed skin. You can like
Right.
cut it like a fucking melon.
Right.
Um. How about
Do we want to get into? We're actually over an hour already. Do you want to get into historical FPSs? Because we did talk a little bit about like early Wolfenstein 3D. I mentioned Duke Nukem 3D.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Doom,
Let's
Quake,
backtrack.
GoldenEye. We both have fond memories of GoldenEye for the N64, right?
That we do. That might have been like the first 3D first-person shooter I ever played.
Okay.
Um,
Did you have the Atomic Purple N64 controller?
no, I didn't. I had solid gray, plain old. I don't have any tattoos. I have no piercings. I'm a plain ass dude. I don't think I had any colored controllers for the N64. I'm sure friends came over and they had it, but no atomic purple for me, unfortunately.
I remember when my buddy got one. It was a big deal.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Why haven't they released more Switch Joy-Con cases, by the way?
Dude, there's tons of Joy-Con out there.
There's a lot, but like the color, it's like watermelon, fucking pink and
Dude.
green, like piss Pikachu yellow and shit Eevee brown. Like it's like the worst fucking colors, man. Like there's nothing better than the neon red, neon blue.
They're too busy. They're too busy trying to sell us cardboard. That's what it is.
Dude, I almost bought that
Get the
Switch Online.
Well,
That online.
Switch Online's fine. I'm talking about Labo.
I mean, yeah. Oh, not. I'm never gonna buy that.
Yeah.
I'd put it together and I'd play it once and I'd throw it away for sure. The reason I was about to buy online is because I have a Pro controller. I've never beaten Super Mario Brothers 1, 2, or 3.
Get the fuck out of here. The original?
Never. Yeah, the original NES games. I've never beaten any of them.
Dude.
And it's really embarrassing.
Let me know. We need to get on. I'll totally play Super Mario Brothers 3 with you.
Can we play it together?
I have a Japanese account.
Shit, we should do that.
Yeah.
I have the Famicom Mini, but those controls are so small. It's like I can't do this.
Baby
I
controllers.
cannot do it. Oh, some baby ass controllers, man. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
But with the Pro Control, it's sitting. I just got this nice TV. It's like I should get back and play those games. I'll save scum the shit out of that, by the way. But my rule will be, I will not save scum in the middle of a level. I have to beat a level from start to finish. But like after 1-1, I'll save it. Start 1-2, and so on and so forth.
Can you? This is way off topic from first-person shooters, but
Sorry.
Can you do a save state at any time in Nintendo
I'm pretty
Online?
sure you can.
Okay.
I downloaded it when it was during its kind of like, not beta, but like you could download it for like a trial period for like 3 days.
Yeah.
Sure. I like just pressed a button and just saved it where just save states, unlimited save states maybe.
Okay. Yeah, dude,
If that's the case, I'll totally get through them.
I don't know what it is in Japan, but it's $20 for the year. Like I just dropped $20 and was like, okay, we'll see what happens.
For what I spend on beer on the weekend, I should drop the money.
Right? Like
It's
that.
20. It's 2,400 yen here. With
Okay.
the exchange rate, that probably comes out to like $21 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean
It's about the same.
that's what I thought. I was like, yeah, $20, like for the year.
And they just added Super Mario Brothers 2. I'm like, okay, like they're building a library here. It's not. It's cheap enough, you know. $20 is not a lot. It's not a lot
No.
of money. So yeah. But anyways, going back to historical first-person shooters.
Yeah.
GoldenEye, Atomic 64 controller. I want to hear a childhood memory of the first time you played GoldenEye, if you remember.
The first time that I played GoldenEye, my buddy had already had it for a while. He had a subscription to Nintendo Power, if I'm not mistaken.
I remember that cover.
And there were cheats that you could put in, like when you selected the character and you typed in a name or something like that.
Okay.
Do you remember what I'm talking about?
For GoldenEye?
Yes.
It sounds familiar.
Like you had the
There were cheats.
you had the cursor that looked like crosshairs,
Yep.
and you had to like scroll around and like click on
like the manila file.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep.
Like the dossier files.
Yep.
And if you put in a certain code or a certain combination or keyword or whatever, it would give you like invulnerability and all that kind of shit. I didn't know this, and I got so fucking frustrated playing him in multiplayer. Like, why the fuck are you not dying?
Oh, what an asshole!
Yeah, and because I didn't know like what that did.
Damn, man, your friend didn't even fucking tell.
No, I mean it was fun for 30 minutes or so, and then he got a good laugh out of it, and then we finally played for real. But yeah,
it's a good one. Yeah,
so,
that's probably like the first. It's like the first.
Yeah, that's probably my earliest GoldenEye memory.
I just remember just like rocking this all the time.
I think the people at home are
section where you'd
having a little
you would
hard.
go those there's a section where you'd go and there's two paths leading up to two kind of like lookouts in the facility,
Right.
and one had the armor, and you just like hole up in there and then just like shoot bombs down there, and your friends are trying to like shoot like grenades up there, and like if you got hit you'd run down and get the regenerating shield again and then like go back up, and it was just like a war of patience, and your friends like, get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Or you'd say like, no one can go up there, like you'd have to like set rules and shit. Yeah, I love that stuff.
Or try to watch the other screens because it was split in 4.
Dude, and
So
I thought like,
so you'd know where they were, so you could find them.
right. Yeah, I couldn't believe that back in the day, like a screen split into quarters. Like that shit blew my mind as a kid who like never had any experience with that stuff. Like I went from the
Split
Super
screen.
Nintendo to the N64, so
Yeah, I mean there was like split screen with Mario Kart and shit like that, and F-Zero.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
But in 3D.
How?
Like
All right.
first-person
So
shooters.
let's go back to that for a second. How the fuck did we play that on like a 13-inch CRT TV split in 4?
Yeah.
How was that possible?
Just focus in.
I still have my
How big was that section of the screen where you're
right?
looking at?
Well, that's what I'm
Like
saying.
a fucking postcard.
I still have
And you were getting fucking headshots.
right. I still have my 23-inch CRT TV from high school.
Nice.
And
I wish I did.
Like,
I wish I still had mine.
yeah, I mean, I have it for my my regular Nintendo.
Nice.
But yeah, like I can't imagine that being cut in 4 today. Like that's insane.
No. Like I bought this 55-inch LG OLED, and even now, like if this was split into 4 screens, it'd be like gross.
Right.
It's like I can't even look at the screen. What is that, like 22 inches? Get this fuck out of my face. No, obviously not. But yeah. That's pretty wild how like we're you're complaining like, oh, the Switch screen is so small, but I swear to God, I was like sniping people on a screen smaller than the Switch screen.
Yeah.
Like 2 meters away. Like I'm 2 meters from this CRT TV, right, and just like going at GoldenEye. Some great memories though. And here's a funny story. Like I thought like I was like in my group of friends, I was really good at GoldenEye. Probably out of like the group of like 8, I was probably like 1 or 2.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the only competitive game ever that I was ever good at. It's probably because I practiced. But anyways, I met friends in university, and my friend Jeremy would tell me stories about when he played GoldenEye. That kid, like if he was in my group of friends when we were young, he would have crushed all of us. He memorized every single spawn point for every map.
Get the fuck out of here.
So basically, when he killed you, he was already on his way to where you were about to respawn to kill you again. That's intense. And it didn't matter where, and it didn't matter like what map you chose because he just knew exactly like the sequence of what you spawned.
It must have been
it
must have been predetermined stuff. Then.
Well, the way I can't remember. I thought it would have been random. Making it random seems more likely, but the way he explained it, it wasn't. It's like I'm not too sure. Doing the thing where you'd go to the facility. It's the second level in the single player campaign. You could stand on the toilet and then like do this weird shimmy and get sucked up back into like the ventilation system where you start the level. But you could do that in multiplayer.
Right. Okay.
I remember doing that. And then like hiding up there and your friend's like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
It's like hiding out and like have everyone kill each other. And then like, yeah.
Oh man.
Some good stuff. But so we talked about Wolfenstein 3D and the original Doom. Do you have any stories about Quake? Because I've never played a Quake game. I know it's like a beloved series, but I've never.
Yeah, I mean, I put it on the list just because, it's just kind of a classic FPS. I didn't play much of Quake or Quake 2, but I played a shit ton of Quake 3 Arena back in the day.
Okay.
But I mean, yeah, when that game came out, like Quake 3 Arena, Counter-Strike 1.6, like that was my multiplayer first-person shooter days. So, ironically enough, I've been playing a lot of CS:GO recently.
Yeah, I think where did you mention that? Maybe on
Twitter, probably.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that's like that's a big like I have to throw both my like I don't get it, but I know it's a beloved like FPS.
Yeah.
It's just did that start out as a Half-Life mod?
Yeah, it was a Half-Life mod.
Okay, all right. At least I know a bit of the history then.
Yeah, I remember actually getting a copy.
Don't you play that game and just say like this game looks like shit?
Which?
CS:GO.
No, so Counter-Strike Global Offensive, the most recent one.
I don't know what I'm talking about, Matt. Please, you know what? Just ignore what I said. Please continue with your story. I don't know what I'm talking about.
All right, so just to I guess educate you a little bit. Valve has continually improved that game over the last 4 years. Right, so
I feel sheepish?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was originally released in 2015. Maybe
what am I thinking about?
Maybe 2014. But like it did look worse when it was originally released, but Valve has like continually upgraded the graphics and just like incrementally the textures and shit. Anyway,
that's like I say that, and then like I'm still playing Breath of the Wild, and there's just like swaths of that game where it's just like one texture's like stretched out over like the grassland. So I shouldn't fucking be speaking. All right. What else we got here? Perfect Dark. Now
I never played it.
Okay, so I got on the N64 like really hard, but I fell off even harder um, when we got a PlayStation in the house. When my brother bought a PlayStation 1.
Okay, that's fair.
Like I don't think I've ever like ditched a console as hard as I ditched the N64 because it showed its age so quickly. I think as part of it.
Yeah,
Like I got in my time with like Mario and Zelda. I didn't even fucking play Mario Kart 64. I don't think I ever bought it, but so I never played Perfect Dark. If I had, I'm sure I'd have great memories of it. I just never got around. Never bought it.
I just threw it on there because that's another one that everybody talks about as being this amazing game, and it was rare, wasn't it? It was a rare game.
Yeah, it was. I remember it was kind of like GoldenEye, but like it's probably a way better game than GoldenEye because they improved some of the stuff that GoldenEye introduced. Obviously, like they iterated on their previous
Yeah,
game.
I was gonna say it was the same engine and everything.
Right, and they had this like cool gun that could like shoot around corners at like 40 or like 90-degree angles or something. Yeah, I guess she had like a lot of gadgets. They're probably like, we're not. This isn't some sort of licensed franchise. Like, it's not grounded in like the 007 world, so we can do whatever the hell we want with these gadgets. So I think they got a bit more inventive with the things that Joanna Dark had in her arsenal.
Right.
That's her. Yeah, that's her name, right? Yeah.
I believe so. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. So let's move on to. We should wrap it up with worst first-person shooters or worst first-person shooter campaigns.
Hmm. I think on this list you had posted Singularity, good concept, but not fully realized in implementation.
Yeah, so I put it in as an honorable mention. We talked a little bit about it. It was Raven Software's game after their '09 Wolfenstein reboot.
Right.
I think overall it kind of falls flat. It's worth at least one playthrough, but um, if you have any expectations for it, you're gonna be disappointed. I think by the end. Um, yeah.
Okay. And then you have Destiny on this list. I've never played Destiny. Not interested. Have you played Destiny?
Yeah, worst fucking single player shooter campaign I've ever experienced.
Oh
By
my gosh.
far.
Matt, language. I don't think I've ever heard you trash a game
Yeah, no,
so
it's
hard.
it's no, like you literally like okay. You get to the end and they hand you a medal and then your ship flies off and that's the end. But it didn't really have any story to begin with. So
Isn't that kind of how Star Wars ends?
pretty much, yeah. Um, but I mean there
I
was
like
like
that coat that Luke has on, by the way. I've always liked that coat.
it's pretty classy.
Anyways, so it was
Um,
just like, are you kidding me? This is the ending?
yeah, basically. But you know, I don't know what I was expecting from an MMO light.
Right.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I started Destiny 2 just to see if the story was any better and got maybe however far the open beta lets you get, an hour or two. And then realized that
It's another one of those games that hides all their lore, like buried in like data logs and stuff. Like, if you don't dig for it,
I
you're not gonna find it. Type of stuff.
I read the fucking so yeah, the problem with the original Destiny was they linked it to a website. So
That's what it was.
you had to create an account with Bungie. When you unlock this
Oh,
shit
fuck off, Marty.
when you unlock the shit in game, you had to log into the website and read it. I did that. It was all crap. It was unfinished.
Mm.
Every time I unlocked a codec entry or what the equivalent was, I don't remember what they called it.
Yeah.
I would get on the website and I would read through it and I'm like, yeah, this is just bullshit drivel. Like they never finished the story. So,
Well, the sad thing about that is I'm sure there's like storytellers at Bungie. There's like some hardcore people that like wanted to finish that story and like they didn't have enough time or
oh, it
it
was
got pushed to the side or it's like we're not focusing on that. But it's like no, we have like I like the idea. I'm never gonna play any of these Destiny games. Who knows what's gonna happen with the Destiny franchise, but I like the
Yeah,
idea of this like godlike uh thing coming to Earth and like changing the course of history. Like you have me there. That's a solid elevator pitch.
right.
But that's all I know about that game, and I just heard it gets like really complicated or like unfinished.
Yeah, it's just unfinished concepts, I think.
Mm,
It
that's unfortunate.
it'll be interesting now that Bungie's on their own if they can actually
Mm,
put some time and effort into it. I do think that it was Activision's fault. I think that Activision was like, no, you guys are not going to have 10 years to work on this. You're putting out a fucking
mm,
game. We gave you however many billion for the next 10 years to do like 3, 4 games or whatever, right?
right.
I think it was definitely Activision was like, no, you're putting out this fucking game. People are going to play it. We're going to make a shit ton of money. Nobody cares about your story. Um,
Isn't it
so,
funny how that there's so many parallels there with Anthem?
yeah, yeah.
And like talking about story and stuff. Like I've probably listened to like 10 podcasts talking about Anthem, and no one's talking about the story. Nobody.
No, it's a loot shooter.
Yeah.
It's an MMO light. Um,
Anyways,
Speaking of which, I'll probably download the Division 2 beta just to test it out.
is that for anyone?
Yeah, it's open this weekend.
Maybe I'll take a crack at it. I mean, I do play a lot of third person like cover based shooter games, so
If they've toned
it's
down
free.
the bullet sponge element, I might be more interested because the story to the first one was decent. Um, but yeah, anyway, so those are my worst single player campaigns of all time in first person shooters.
So Destiny's crap.
I mean, we all knew that, but yeah.
Hmm.
I know yours is going to be one of my favorite single player campaigns. That's why I didn't mention it earlier.
Yeah, it depends on how much time we have, really.
We've
I
got
can talk. I don't think it's bad. I just think
it's
it's
overrated.
yeah, like overrated to a degree where if I scratched my head any harder, it'd, like break through my skin and start like tapping on my skull.
Okay.
Um, and I just don't get. I don't. So Titanfall 2.
Right.
Now, I'm not talking about the multiplayer. I know nothing about the multiplayer. Not interested in that stuff. Specifically single player. It was
Right.
on sale for like $7, and I thought everyone's talking about this single player campaign, one of the best ever.
Yeah.
Um, that's got to be worth $7. I'll play it. I play a lot of first person shooters, not necessarily military based shooters, but whatever. It's not. It's like you're on You're on some like alien world or something. Like two companies fighting over like resources or something like that. All right, and you can like jump and stuff.
Right.
And there's like a Titan that you talk to, your friends, best friends. So I played it, and I beat it, and like I immediately forgot about it. I was like, okay, that was okay. There was one part where you time traveled, and they tossed that mechanic out as soon as they implemented it.
Right. Right.
I don't even fucking remember what happened. Like, I don't even remember how that game ended. I just thought it was okay. I don't understand. Like, if you had said like, oh, this is a competent single player campaign for like a multiplayer focused game, like, sure, you could tell they put time into it, right?
Right.
But when everyone's talking about like top 5 single player first person shooter campaigns, go, and like Titanfall 2 is like 2 and Doom 2016 is 1. I just don't see how it's even close to Doom.
Um. All right.
Now, so we went back and forth on Twitter, and like you started telling me about the lore of the game
Yeah.
in like so deep that I'm like, is this just me being myself and not paying attention to anything, or is it like you have to be a special kind of person to be able to dig for this stuff and like pull that out and
It's
make the game more meaningful? Like I don't know which it is.
it's there. It's just very subtle.
Hmm.
So like there's the scroll in the very beginning that like gives you details and tells you like, okay, this is where you're at, right? Once you get into it and you're like, okay, so here's this conflict that's going on. You get onto the planet. You're like, okay, we're we're fighting the IMC, and that's mentioned like a couple different times. Uh, the rest of the time, it's just the IMC, and you have no idea who they are. I'm trying to think.
Like, what's the main story? Like, it's two companies fighting over resources. Is that what it is?
No, so essentially, these worlds have been settled in um, in another part of the galaxy. So humanity has colonized the stars, and these group of planets are have been settled, and you have a corporation that's come in to basically take over and monetize the resources of the planets. And then you have basically like the settlers that are rising up against this corporation.
Oh, there's settlers? Like, where did they get the, Are you one of the settlers?
Kind of, yeah.
I like how I'm asking you what happened in a game that I fucking played.
Well, like I said, it's in the game. It's not all that clear. Um, but it is there, and it's I didn't catch what you said there.
Sorry. How did the settlers get militarized? Like, where'd they get all their stuff from?
I'm gonna pull it up. I see. I knew we were gonna talk about first person shooters, and I should have done a little homework before I got on the podcast. Um,
Take your time. I'm making rice.
you realize we're still streaming, right? Like people are watching us right now. Possibly. I don't know. I don't know if we actually have any viewers right now. I can always check
Here's what
that
you do.
too.
Keep your rice in a Ziploc bag. They're pretty fresh. Of course, as I live in Japan, it's really cheap, and rice cookers are awesome. They cook that shit really quickly.
Do you put anything with the rice?
Like in the rice cooker?
Well, I mean, I guess you could put it in the rice cooker.
There are things that you can put in, and it'll just like cook everything together. But I just strictly like got my rice cooker here. I just put the rice in and like pretty much like boom boom, and it'll cook it.
Okay. So this is
And
from the wiki. So you're part of the Frontier Militia, all right?
okay, you're from a militia. Okay.
Right. And the Frontier Militia is a loosely governed mishmash of homesteaders, criminals, bandits, mercenaries, terrorists, and pirates, all rising up as citizen soldiers when the need arises. So the IMC
Okay.
comes in to like take over and monetize. The Frontier Militia rises up to defend itself, and you're part of the Frontier Militia. That's who Jack Cooper is.
Okay.
And then the IMC also ends up hiring the Apex Predators, which is another mercenary corporation. And those are the main protagonists, or the main antagonists of the game.
Right. I remember you were fighting mercenaries. That was like the main thing. What's the big MacGuffin in the game? I already forgot. The giant glowing orb that
The thing that
everyone
everybody's
wants.
fighting over?
Yeah.
I want to call it a Tesseract, but I don't think that's what it's called.
Is it? It's like a source of like pure power or something like that.
Yeah, it's like
It's like a
it's like an energy source.
perpetual power source or something.
Yeah, that can be
Okay.
harnessed.
Okay. Okay. So you obviously when you play a game, you like dig into the lore. And even in a game like Doom, which doesn't need it at all,
Right.
I can see how it does enhance the overall opinion of a game, because it's little things like it helps. Like I get that now, and you're a kind of a not a catalyst, but you're one reason why I'm like, you know what, I should probably start paying attention a little more, type of thing. Not to say that I ignore everything, but sometimes I do. So even in a game Titanfall 2, and no one gives a shit about the story, so the
Right.
lore is one. Like, you're interested in the lore of the game. Like, what else makes it so special for you? Like, I can think of sequences in that game, like the prefab, like housing factory level, and the time travel level, and the part where you and a bunch of Titans attack the mercenary Titans towards the end of the game, and you, like, break through the wall, and you're going up the level and like destroying all these Titans with all your friends or whatever.
Yeah.
That's about it. Like, I can't really remember anything else in that game.
So the prefab house one is the one you're talking about, where they're on like the assembly line type thing, and they're like
Yep.
building the
Yeah.
um
It's cool,
I
but I don't think it's like that great.
I mean, I don't know, it was interesting. Like, what other first person shooter has you doing that type of platforming?
I don't know, but it's like I'm just killing like some guys in shiny armor. Guys, I don't know. It's just the place that we're in is interesting, but like the hard time I have with this is like you can say that about any game, like about ducking behind walls and shooting people, but it's like not necessarily everything about the game. If you strip every game down, you could say it's boring because all it does is a single mechanic. So I don't want to go that way with it, but it was memorable enough, I suppose. Like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, as these these prefab houses are being constructed, you're like jumping across this factory line while shooting people. Like, it's cool. I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, does it need a story thread? Like in Uncharted, to where even though I kind of are ducking behind walls and shooting, throwing grenades and doing the same things, that
Yeah.
the story thread keeps you interested in what's going on and you care about the character you are.
Well,
Um,
it kind of
like
has that with the relationship between BT and Cooper.
I like the giant fucking robot. Like, he's cool.
Yeah.
Uh, who I was, like, I don't remember anything about the game. Like, I just thought it was like some sort of avatar for what was happening around me. Um,
Okay.
you had and a lot of this I just don't remember, but that's partly because I don't think it was very memorable. I liked the Titan in that game, like the AI. It was like he had interesting things to say, and I thought they cheated a bit where they killed him and then brought him back. Like, that shit's cheesy, super cheesy. Like, if you're gonna stick to it, stick to it. Don't bring him back. I don't remember how he came back, but it was like you took his AI core and put it in another Titan or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, he basically took his brain and transplanted it.
Right.
Um,
Which I guess it's not the worst thing you can do, but
I don't know. I wish that I had played through it more recently than
right.
a year
It's
and a,
been it's been a while since I played it as well.
yeah, it's been like a year and a half, I think, since the last time I played it. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't know. This is kind of impromptu. I wish I had more talking points regarding Titanfall 2 to make it more
Mm.
interesting for you.
Maybe we should knock it on the head for now. We can bring it up like when it's like you, me, and Keith. I
Yeah,
think
because
Keith
I
has
know that
played it,
Keith
right?
really likes it too. Um,
Okay, let's save it for another time, and so we can all brush up on it and then get into like a deep dive about it.
all right,
I think probably the
sounds
best
good
thing
to
to
me.
do.
And we're at an hour and 44 minutes. So I think
That's probably enough.
we'll call it there. And Keith will have plenty of things that he'll want to rebut on. So
Keith, I don't want to hear you say that Wolfenstein 2 is hard. It's not. You better beat it too. If you quit, I'll be so disappointed in you.
And on that note, we're out.